G'day, my name's Ben and I am a third year paramedicine student here in Australia. For those that aren't aware, third year is your final year in Australia. I've had quite a bit of struggle as a mature age student with the course. One of the big things I found was that there was a bit of a lack of resources for people that learn through repetition like I do. I learn through repeatedly doing something or doing it on the job. So what I've done over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, is put together some resources to try and combat that. So what I've ended up with is MedQuiz. It is a collection there are 5 small quizzes that you can use to basically go over and over and over and actually do the skills. So for example, we've got a GCS quiz. It's literally a case of you hit start, it gives you a 2-minute timer down here, and it's going to tell you what you've got. So in this case, we've got eyes open to pressure pain. I might actually correct that. So you enter your EVM scores and your total, and if you get all 4 correct, it will give you a point. That'll add onto your score. At the end of the 2 minutes, it converts whatever your score is over to your high score if it's high, and you just try and beat your score. But it's that case of repetition over and over. You're just going to smash through them. We will look at doing one. I will look at getting one set up where it's actually asking the questions and determining that. But in this case, we've got eyes are opening to pressure, so that's a 2. Verbal oriented and good verbal is a 1. It's not a 1, it's a 5. See what I mean? Haven't done it in a little while. An extension to pain is a 3. So I've got an 8-10 there. Ooh. It was a 2. Yeah, flexion is a 3 and extension is a 2. So as you can see, did not give me a point because I got that guy wrong. I got the 10 correct because I added them up correctly. Anyway, we'll run through. We've got 30 seconds left on the clock, so we'll run through one more quickly. So eyes opening to sound is a 3. Incomprehensible sounds is a 2. Extension to pain, well, we just worked that one out, is a 2. So 2 and 2 is 4 and 3 is 7. So we get that guy, and there we got a point because we got it correct. Let's see if we can do this one in 10 seconds. Eyes not opening is a 1, incomprehensible is a 2, inflection is a 3, so that's 6. Smash it in there. Cool. So as you'll see, we'll run out of time. Pop up at the top saying that our score is a 2, and it converts it over to a high score. You can just go through this over and over and over again. One of the big things that I've noticed in our res schools at my university is that people are a bit shonky with the GCS. They sit there on, use fingers and can't remember what scores. As we saw, that I just stuffed up the flexion extension, but it's something you can just keep doing over and over and over again. And as I say, I will get in there a similar one where you've actually got to determine the GCS. So you've got to say, I'm looking at my eyes, sternum rub, does it open to pain? Does it open to voice first, obviously? Does it open to pain? Do they open to pain? Talking to the patient, because that's another one, is the confusion, level of confusion and orientation there with the verbal. We want to see people oriented at time, place, circumstances sort of thing. A lot of people, if they're scoring, partly there's a little bit of confusion or something like that, or whether it's baseline, things like that. So I'd love to get another GCS one where we actually score it rather than just, actually assess it rather than just scoring it. That said, I will come to the simulator soon. The simulator, you do actually have to go through and ask the questions and determine it. It's like a live OSCE or a live actual assessment. So I'll skip the toxidrome at the moment because that's a little bit more of a complex one. Medical terminology is quite just a basic, simple one. It's a case you'll get a word or a prefix or suffix. And then down here you'll get 5 definitions, and you just basically choose them. So oligo, I can never remember this one. I believe it's view. Submit that. Cool, it was. Rhinoplasty. Rhino is going to be nose. Plasty is going to be surgical repair. Arthroscopy is going to be looking at plaque visualization. Scopy makes me think visualization, but arthroscopy is looking at blood vessels. There you go. See, even I don't know many of them. There you go. It was visual examination of a joint. Oh yeah, arthro. Yeah, I get my misinterpreted. Anyway, this runs through. It's got a couple of hundred different terms there and the definitions, and basically each one's going to give you the definition, and you just basically kick through it. Meningitis, inflammation of the meninges. We won't go through it. It does repeat themselves occasionally. It is a completely random thing, so you may get 1 or 2 repetitions, and depending on how far you smash through it, you may get a couple. But as I say, I think there's about 100 or 200 words in there. I will add to that continually as I can. It's obviously time consuming. Again, 2 minutes. It's going to record your score. It'll chuck it a high score. Maybe one day I'll put a leaderboard up, so it's like an arcade game or something. But for now, we won't. Vital signs. This one's, they're all going to be much the same. So to start, it gives you your vital signs. You're then going to go through and say, yep, pulse is normal, BP is a little bit low because it's on the low side of normal. ECGs are either normal or abnormal. SpO2, again, we're on the threshold there. I'd call that normal. 7.1 for BGO is normal-ish, and temp at 36.8 is normal. So submit that, and it'll give you your thing. All right, so it's going to call, I'd say under 100. Anyway, you are going to basically go through this, and it's really just a test of starting to identify, yep, this one's low, this one's low, this one's high. And then similarly, what we might do is actually do a similar quiz where it's just providing symptomatic treatment, something like that. So, you got a low BP, what's your common treatment pathway? So fluid or posturing, things like that. So we will possibly look at that. That's another one. You've got to get all of them right to get the point there for your score. And I think I'll move all the scores at the top, but that's something else for another time. Pediatric drug dose and toxidrome are both a bit heavier, so we'll have a look at the toxidrome first because it's probably the most simple. And it's basically a case of you hit start, it's going to give you your symptoms, and then you've got your list of what it could be overdosing on. I should know this one because I've only just done it. CNS depression, ataxia, hypotension, slurred speech. I'd be looking alcohol or potentially sedative hypnotic. Doesn't look like I've actually got alcohol in there. So we'll just hit sedative hypnotic and see what we get. Boom. So yeah, again, it's just going to be a case. It's going to keep going through these. I'm looking at opioids there. Bradycardia, hypertension, hypoglycemia, bronchospasm. I'm thinking a beta blocker there. So sedation. Yeah, I'm not going to go through them all because we'll sit here for the 2 minutes again. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is pretty much just going to keep rolling through. And again, I just finished my toxicology unit, and this was one of the big things that I had trouble with, was just identifying all your different sets of toxidromes. So yeah, it's just going to be a repetition thing. You learn them, you start to associate, like I've learned them through learning pathophysiology because that's the way I learn. But then even then, it's still just a case of repetition and doing it. And the more you get wrong, the more you'll learn as well. So we'll jump over to the pediatric drug doses because this is probably one of the harder ones, and in my mind, one of the more important ones, because your ped drug doses, if you've got a sick kid, you want to know your drug doses. You don't want to be sitting there trying to maths it all out right there while they're in front of you sick. Obviously, you're going to work out what you can on the way to a job, but knowing these, and unfortunately, well, not so much unfortunately, but adrenaline is one that I really would like to add onto this list. But just the way it's coded in there, it's all calculations, and it's all, so your adrenaline is generally a dose by age. So I think it's up to 6 months is 50 micrograms, 6 months to a year or two is 100 micrograms, and so on and so forth, for the various indications. But even then, I got to check that. But yeah, so what I've done is, it's basically at the moment, I tried coding it in with a boxes where you could fill out what your local procedures were. Unfortunately, I kept running into snags with how it calculated things. So what I've had to do is I've had to hard code the drug doses here, and I know these are going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and even in some cases, for various different things. So what I've used is the Queensland Ambulance Service ones, because since I'm up in Queensland, I'm studying QAS policy, which is morphine's 100 micrograms a kilo, fent's 1.5 micro per kilo, midazolam is 200 micro per kilo, and paracetamol is 15 milligrams per kilo. So what happens here is it's going to give you the weight, the drug you need, and the presentation. I haven't written it there. I will add it on. The weight we're looking for is going to be age times 3 plus 7. And it's going to be a random age from 1 to 5 years old. I didn't want to go over 5 because we start hitting max doses and things, and this thing it's not set up to recognize a max dose. I'm not that magic at coding. I'm self-taught, as I'm sure I'll discuss later on once we get into the simulator stuff. I've basically taught myself to code and then done what I can. I've got no formal training, and I don't even like computers that much, so I won't ever have formal training. So anyway, just running through 1 or maybe 2. Morphine, we've got a 3-year-old, so age times 3 is 9 plus 7, 16 kegs. Dose is 100 micrograms per kilo, so we're going to have 1600 micrograms or 1.6 milligrams. And then that is going to be volume to administer in mils. It says there our presentation is 10 milligrams per mil. So we want 1.6 milligrams, so it's going to be 0.16 mils. Fent, 2-year-old, so oh look, I've still got the boxes here to set up the local ones. They do not work. I will delete those. Fent, 2-year-old is going to be 6 plus 7 is 13 kilos. Dose of Fent is 1.5 micrograms per kilo, and I know the Fent dose is actually 1 to 2 micrograms per kilo. Similarly, morphine's 1 to 2. I can only put in here one set of numbers to assess based on. So use the numbers I've got up here. Use these numbers, and 1.5 I use that because it's, I believe, IM and IV is 1 to 2. Intranasal is 1.5. So I figured, we're using that set of numbers there, so we'll use that. So based on 1.5, I really almost need a calculator, so it's going to be 11.5. Working that out, it's going to be 0.115. I'm not very confident there. I should probably pull up a calculator, but I've only got 10 seconds left, so we'll just see if we can smack that through. Presentation's 50 microgs, so we're going to go 0.06. It's a bit wrong. Okay, there you go. That's obviously not correct because your volume is going to have to be more than 0.00 mil. I will take a look at that. Anyway, and then Medaz, obviously 5 milligrams per mil. 5-year-old's going to be max dose anyway, I believe. So that's our quizzes. We've got the 5 at the moment. There's a couple more that I'm working on. And one of the big ones that I'm working on is an ECG one, where it's actually going to generate an ECG, and you're going to be able to, very similar to 60-second ECG, but it's going to be more about picking the parts of the ECG. So it'll pop up with an AV block type 1, where you've got your prolongation on your gap for your P wave. So you're going to hit, the goal is going to actually, rather than saying, oh, yeah, we're going to want to say, cool, it's a AV type 1, but we're going to want to actually say why. So it's going to be, you've got you're going to see the ECG, you're going to be like, all right, here's the P wave prolongation, or P wave PR delay. That's what I'm after. You're going to say, all right, here's my P wave, here's my QRS complex, and this is the problem, and this is why it's an AV type 1. So it's more about learning why rather than just recognizing it. And that, in my mind, and the way I learning why each thing looks the way it does actually helps reinforce what's going on. So obviously you've got a delay between the SA and the AV node. You've got the delay there. So how's that going to show? That's going to show as the delay in the P to QRS complex. So that's coming, maybe a little ways off, because the actual generating the ECGs is not an easy task. What I might even do in the short term is just get 50 odd ECGs, and you can click on the different parts of it and things like that. But yeah, so, and again, we'll come around to this as I sort of talk through the simulator, which is sort of the most exciting part of this. And I'll talk through this quickly. So what our simulator here is it's an AI-powered OSCE simulator. The AI plays the part of your patient and the sort of assessor. It simulates being in an assessment. So you're going to be given, once you're saying your scenario, you're going to be given a case, for example, a nausea and vomiting case. So you'll be called to, it'll basically say you are called to a 22-year-old female with nausea and vomiting. You're going to then say, what's my windscreen survey on arrival? Is there any danger to myself, my partner, or can I see here a small danger, as the university would like you to say? You're going to say, what's the general appearance of my patient? And it's going to answer you for every single one of them. It's going to be consistent. So if it says you're at a train station, consistently throughout the scenario, you are at a train station, you might have some bystanders, you might have some family there, whatever the case may be. So it's going to go through that. It's going to give you vital signs as you ask for them. It's going to simulate, this black box up here is actually a defib monitor sort of situation, and it will actually give you your vital signs on there, and they should update throughout the scenario. They have been a little bit buggy. I'm working on keeping them up to date, but as you know, I'm self-taught coding. Makes life tricky. And before I touch on this, I will just show off, actually it might not work. It will work. So the free version of the simulator only has nausea and vomiting cases. You can do it as many times as you want. It will give you a new case every single time. It will be a unique case every time. It's not like pulling from a database. It's going to generate a brand new patient every single time you click new scenario. That said, it is always a nausea and vomiting case, so it's not going to be super interesting. You probably only got 3 or 4 outcomes of giving some Ondans or whatever your local drug is, giving them some rest and reassurance sort of thing, transporting hospital or not transporting hospital. So you've only got that limited scope of what you're doing. That said, there is a paid version of the simulator, and that paid version has a lot more cases. So far, it's got these cases all built into it. You can see there's ticks in the boxes because they're the ones that I've selected and turned on for training purposes. But you've got your mental health, couple of cardiac cases, couple of environmental cases, bunch of medical, respiratory. I don't know why I've got the respiratory in there twice. I will fix that. Obstetric, you've got your cephalic delivery and a PPH. Neurological, toxicology. I will get in and add more toxicology cases. Obviously, these are the sort of the bigger ones, but I will get in and add things like organophosphate and stuff like that. And then trauma. I was hesitant to put trauma in because I'm actually only studying trauma this year. It's my final units. But I've done a bit of research, so I'm confident enough adding those those trauma ones in, and knowing that they're actually performing correctly, as far as it can go. So, as I say, it's the membership fees there, $2 a week, $6 a month, or $60 a year. These are the AI model that I'm using actually does cost me money every time it sends a message. So it's going to cost me a couple of cents each message that goes out and in. So these membership fees are to fund those costs associated with obviously running it for free, and also running the paid versions as well. And also anything left over is basically going to get sunk straight back into future development. I originally pitched this to a app development company about 2 years ago, and I was quoted $250,000 to build this. And I'm a student. I have some savings from when I was working. I've been living off those savings basically as I study. So I simply did not have $250,000 to sink in. The company did suggest to me that I potentially, they were happy to go out to investors. They believed it was a really good product, and they wanted to go out to investors. And I thought originally I was going to go with that, but I don't want this to be a for-profit thing. I want this to be out there supporting paramedic students, supporting eventually nursing and medical students, and being a resource that people can use as freely as possible. Obviously, there's going to be costs associated with operating it, but I want people to be able to use this. I want to try and make life easier for students. I've been studying online. That's why I built it, because I don't have the patience or the people skills or the time. I've got 2 kids. Saying people skills is a bad thing as well. I've got great people skills. I just don't have the. I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife. I've got our own business that we run. I don't really have the mental load to sit there and do study groups on the regular. So this means whenever I've got some free time, I can just press a button and I can run a scenario. I don't need to be reliant on a group of 2 or 3 or however many people. And obviously I don't have access to labs and things like that because I'm not an on-campus student. So anyway, enough rambling. I will jump straight into a scenario. So we hit new scenario there, and that hasn't worked. So let's just give it a quick refresh. As I say, it is it's an AI model. It has some really strange quirks, and it gives you some really strange cases actually as well, and some quite funny ones. So if you do find that it's playing silly buggers like this, just hit refresh. And once it's loaded up, fire off a new scenario. So we'll just ignore this first part. It's not playing very fun. So anyway, you are called to a 25-year-old female with nausea, fatigue, and a craving for sweets. This actually sounds more like a hypoglycemia on the face of it, but so I will just clarify what this is actually saying here. The HR95 SpO295 on room air. It's actually the what it's passing into the monitor that you'll see in a moment. So sometimes it pops up. That's just because the code that I've got is meant to pull that out and put it through the monitor. But sometimes if it puts things in front, like where it's got sieve here, I don't know why it's done that. Occasionally we'll put a prefix in that first message as well. I'll see if I can fix that up at some point. But as you start to go through, it'll fix itself basically. So a small apartment complex. Can I see, hear, or smell? It looks to be quite safe. No hazards apparent. What type is the general appearance of my patient? And speaking of learning to type, she's sat in bed, looks scared, and is sweating. On that learn to type thing, I am going to get text-to-speech and speech-to-text going in here. It will be a paid feature because it does cost money every time. Again, every time audio goes either way, but then it will obviously have. It'll be the same audio for the assessor. So, for example, where we're saying you were called to, and the action and as we'll see, we're about to talk to the patient, so it will be the same voice for both, unfortunately. Possibly might be able to make something happen there about getting a different voice, but it's going to be a fairly generic voice anyway. Hello, it's Ben and Steve from the ambulance. What's happening? My stomach is so sore, please help me. That's no good. Ended the pain. Okay. Do you mind if oh, what was his name? My partner, Steve. Yeah, and that's another funny one. Often when you ask, obviously you don't need to. No, you should in the real world. There's not a you don't need to sort of thing. When you ask for consent to do something here, it often interprets it really strangely. For example, I've just said, "Can I feel your pulse?" And she's said, "Sure, my pulse is 95 beats per minute." That's not what I'm going for. You can use the button in here. There is a circulation carotid. Sometimes it just puts the message there and doesn't actually give you a result. Again, it does some strange things. But it is what it is. Look, I take that as, she's got a pulse. So just, it will get better. We click the vital signs survey button and it simulates the partner setting up. So I think it's a 1 or 2 minute timer here where you can be talking, you can continue talking to the patient, you can continue writing the scenario. So let's do that. We'll go, what sort of pain is in your stomach? A dull ache or whatever. Cool. So yeah, as I say, this is simulating the time it's taking for them to turn the monitor on, get them hooked up to the ECG and the pulse ox probe and things like that. Does it feel just, I'm going to PQRST. So onset was last night. Doesn't better or worse. I don't know if this monitor is actually going to work today. Let me just hit that again and see if it works. Okay. Do you normally get a pulse? So provocation palliation, she's tried antacid. Quality of the pain, she said it's a dull ache. Radiation. Actually, let's just explore that reflux. Is it the same sort of pain? No. Okay, cool. And again, we're looking for the OPQRST here. The simulator does actually give feedback at the end of the scenario when you hit end scenario. It doesn't give you specific feedback, like it won't say, look, you didn't do your OPQRST or it was disjointed. It'll sort of look overall at your communication with the patient, your treatment, that sort of jazz. I will eventually get in there. I will eventually get it basically working on a marking rubric, so it will look at you, you've done your OPQRST, it was disjointed and late or whatever. Very similar to how the universities would look at it, but that's a long way down the track. Let's go. Well, she said it's a dull ache, so we'll just leave it at that. EpiQRS and T, and she said she's taken some antacids. What I tend to do, and I don't do this on road, obviously, for obvious reasons, But just because it is back and forth, and getting like 2 or 3 word replies, I would tend to group a couple of questions up, like, do you have any allergies or regular medications? Because, it's just speeding things along. If doing that on here is gonna make you do it on road or on placement, or even in scenarios at university, I would probably advise against it, because we don't want to overload people in real life. They're already having a bad day. We don't want to start saying, hey, do you got any allergies or regular medications? Especially if you're starting to go into people with, older people or people that have got medical conditions where they've got, a list of medications as long as your arm. You don't want to start, banging that all together. Admittedly, they'll probably give you a Webster pack so you can just read them, and they might even have the allergies on there. But, go through your sampled in real life, go through it as sampled, as your individual units of questioning there. And if in the simulator it's going to help you, if it's going to trip you up and you're going to start doing that in real life, just ask the questions individually. If you're getting 1 or 2 word answers, so be it. And especially once the text-to-speech is in, if you're subscribed to that, then go bananas and actually have the conversations. You also don't need to. You don't need to put things in inverted commas. I just do because I'm saying it, so I do. It won't. The computer can actually differentiate between action and speech, and generally your speaking is only going to be to the patient. That said, if you get stuck, and I'll do this here in a minute to show you, you can speak to your partner and ask them their opinion on it. And we'll do that in a second. So actually what we haven't had back is our OBS. Usually what would happen, and I don't know why it hasn't worked, is usually we hit that vital signs survey button, this black screen will disappear and you'll see a monitor there, and I'll show you it again in a second when it's working. You'll have the SpO2 and the heart rate up here, and then it should actually give you back a set of OBS, but we'll just ask for them now. We'll finish this conversation. Weird answer to the question. Diary after the, I mean, is that normal? Alright, so what we'll do, can I please get I always try and list it, because this thing does often, even listing it, it'll give you a bit of a odd list. Pulse speed, ECG, SpO2, temp, BGL. Heart rate 95, blood pressure 120 at 80, 37, BGL is 5.1. So you didn't give me my, what did I skip out on? ECG, it doesn't matter, it's going to be a sinus. And I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, it does matter. Hasn't given me SpO2 either. Cool. So in this case, look, it could be any number of things. But look, what we'll do, just to show it off, is we'll say, speaking with my partner, do you have here? So sometimes it'll outright say what's up. Sometimes it will Yeah, so sometimes it'll be like, oh, it looks like a hyperglycemic incident, or episode rather. Sometimes it'll just give you some suggestions on treatment pathways and things like that. And in this case, look, it's probably some sort of food poisoning or gastritis or something, like that. Do you feel speaking? And you don't need to. It's probably always a safe bet. And just like a real patient, they don't tell you everything either. Okay, so look how you can see I'm just having a conversation at this point. We're going to look at ondansetron. That's what's carried Queensland. I don't know. I think some services here still carry metoclopramide. So whatever your pick your poison there, whatever your local procedures say to use. In this case, I'm going to give her. Was her BP low? The BP is 120 on 80. The heart rate's a little elevated. Temp is good and BGL is okay. Cool. So in this case, I'm just going to give it 4 milligrams on DANS. I'm going to give it to her oral. I don't see a need to start an IV. Again, this is going to depend heavily on what your service does. If your service believes, would be cannulating for this kind of patient, go for your life. Queensland, we're only running IV generally if it's necessary. And look, her BP is good, her BGO is good. I don't think we're going to be giving her fluid at this point because we don't see any evidence of hypervolemia. So as much as the partner there, Steve, has said that we should run an IV, I don't think in my mind, I couldn't justify the risk of infection, and that's the main reason that they're saying not to be running them at the moment, because it's aseptic. So, all right. Let's administer 1 milligram. Let's go through the contrast first. And we have a medication called ondansetron 4. Yes, and and again, your contraindications may be different. They're obviously going to be largely the same, but your contraindications may be different based on your service. For this, we're using the Queensland Ambulance one. It doesn't really assess on your contras and things like that, more than management. So in this case, we're all pregnant, right? These can be asked as one. I don't know why she kept saying I don't think so. It's just her. It does generate a whole persona for your patient. This chick has been kind of... these are sort of similar answers what we've been getting the whole way through. Her SpO2 is a little bit low, so we could whack some nasals on. And you get that a lot. If you ask two yes or no questions, you will often get a yes or no answer. You really do need to go. You really do need to ask what they would prefer to do. Anyway, look, we haven't done a GCS or any neuro. We haven't done a respiratory assessment or anything like that yet. And look, we probably actually we'll go. Yeah. In the paid version of the simulator, when you get a respiratory assessment, it will pop up with an actual window here. You click on the auscultation points, and it'll actually play your breath sounds and give you your rest rates and things like that. That's not here in this one, mostly because it's a bit of a buggy thing. It works, but it doesn't work fantastic, and I just don't feel comfortable putting it in this version, only in the development version where we can expect bugs. And yeah, look, we could run through a GCS. Since we've been talking about it, we will run through a quick GCS. I don't know what day it is. Yeah, sometimes it's going to answer as the patient, even though it shouldn't. Okay. And cool. So, look, usually it'll actually know it's a GCS, and it'll say the patient answers the day correctly or something. It hasn't done that, but look, we can assume that's correct. We can assume she's in her apartment and she's by herself. She's been quite good. She's been able to follow directions. So we can give her a GCS at 15 because we've got eyes are opening spontaneously. And actually, funny, we'll come back to that. Eyes are opening spontaneously, as we can assume. Oriented to time, place, circumstance, and look, she's obeying commands, she's taking tablets, things like that. So she is a GCS 15. Something I didn't verbalise earlier, and something I really should. You know what? We'll do it properly. We'll do the GCS properly. Can you reach? Because if you do this in a university assessment, you're without doing the actual proper GCS, you're going to get marks down for it. So let's do it properly. Let's train as we fight. Cool bananas. So there's our GCS. We'll do our motor sensor as well. Yeah, what I didn't verbalise, and I do this all the time in scenarios and assessments as well, and I often get marked down for it. We did a primary survey, but we didn't actually write it in. You can actually type in there, my primary survey is done, the patient's speaking to me, so they've got a patent airway, they're breathing, and they've got a pulse suitable to sustain life. So I didn't do that, but it's something you can do. If it's going to help you remember it for uni, that's something you can do as well. But look, we're at a point where we can't really do much else with her. It's a nausea case. We probably could have, if we didn't give her the on-dads, we probably could have talked her into staying at home and just toughing it out. But that's going to be up to you and your judgment. So we're in scenario. It will give us some feedback. So there you go. The scenario is over. You could have been faster in recognising the patient's condition and providing appropriate anti-nausea medication. because I've been talking, because we did quite a bit of talking with her first. But yeah, it gives some sort of generic feedback there. So as I said, I'll just dive straight over here for a second and see if this is going to work. So we go new scenario. 14-year-old female with facial swelling and a rash. Look, I'm not going to go through anything. I'm just going to go straight to vital signs and see if that pops up, and also a respiratory assessment. Right, my respiratory isn't working 100%, as I say, but let's just have a quick look and see if a minute passes in this one. Improves. That hasn't either. Oh, there it is. The numbers are a little bit off kilter because I've added some text in, so it's moved it around. But yeah, so as you can see, this one's actually giving us our SpO2. If we get, I don't know why it's still talking to us, BP. And once you get a BP, it'll actually appear in here, and this will update as we go. So as you can see, these stats are actually updating as we go. It's the ambulance. What's happening? I think we're looking at anaphylaxis, by the way. Anyway, yeah, you can see these stats are actually. Yeah. So. Yeah, as you can see, it does it does update as we go through the assessment and through the scenario. They do get stuck sometimes, but I'm going to add a button in here somewhere to refresh that as well. So, yeah, look, that's the crux of it. Resources, there isn't anything there at the moment. I am going to... Yeah, okay, I was going to say, I don't remember putting an anatomy quiz in there. I am going to do that soon. That's the next one to be developed. It's going to basically just go through where each bone is, what muscles are where, and things like that. It's going to be a basic biology quiz, pretty much. As far as resources go, look, I'm going to put together resources that are, for lack of a better term, really simple. I want to try and make everything really easy to understand. I have ADD and I do not learn well through just reading textbooks or listening to a lecture. My best bet is if I want to learn something, I go to the gym, I sit on the treadmill or the elliptical or one of the cardio machines, and I watch the lecture then, and I will learn it. If I need to learn something, I need to do it. If I have no choice but to learn it through learning, I need to learn the pathophysiology, and I need to be able to join all those dots in my mind. I need to say, all right, the reason that GTN has contraindications, and I'm just pulling something completely out of my ass here, but the reason that GTN has the contraindication of not having head trauma, CVA, is because it's going to dilate those blood vessels in the brain. If they've got head trauma, swelling, or a CVA, we don't want that starting to move around. Similarly, if we've got a heart rate of between 50 and 150, if it's over 150, if it's outside that range, we're going to have decompensation issues. If it's lower than 50, we're going to be dropping it further when the blood vessels dilate. And similarly, blood pressure. If we've got a blood pressure less than 100, we're going to start having all sorts of issues when we drop that from dilating all the blood vessels and causing that venous pooling. So that's how I learn. That is what I want to try and include. That's the sort of resources I'm working on. It's going to be like, this is a medication. These are your contraindications, and this is why. So you can understand. So you can think to yourself when you go into a voice fever or sitting a quiz or whatever, and it pops up and it's like, give us the contras for GTN. I don't know why I keep pulling that one out, but it's something I've been thinking about, obviously. You're going to be able to go, shit, I can't remember two of them. Look, this is what it does, and we don't want it to do this. Oh, yeah, it's CVA, head trauma, or Viagra-like medication, because we're already working on the same receptors and things like that. So, yeah, they're the sort of resources that I want to be putting out. Maybe a bit of pathophysiology around disease, but if it's going to help, I'll do it. The ECG stuff is a really big one because I love ECGs. So I really want to get in there, and it took me a long time to learn them. It did not click easily. So I want to get in there and try and impart my knowledge on others on ECGs there as well. So the resources will largely be free. There's going to be some that are going to be behind that membership paywall, and that's just because of the amount of effort that I'm putting into it, and that I need to try and look. It's $2 a week, $6 a month, or $60 a year. It's not a high cost. It's certainly not something I actually plan on making any sort of profit on, but I love what I'm doing here. I love the idea of everything that's here. I want to roll it out to more people. I want to make that simulator schmick. I want that to be like the bee's knees of what people can do, and I want people to have access to it from home. So the only way I can do that is to really sell hard and make money here, because I don't have the money, my personal stuff. I don't have $250,000 to get that professionally made. I don't believe it's going to cost that now. I think you've got a proof of concept there. I think people will be able to pick that up and run with it, and use my base to basically improve upon. But I'd love that to be an app on everyone's phone. So if you're sitting at a hospital ramped and bored, or if you're on a plane on the way to placement, that's not going to work because you don't have Wi-Fi. If you're on a fancy plane on the way to placement, or res school or whatever, you can sit there and bust out the scenarios and smash through them. If you've just done a shitty day at res school and you're like, I really need to practice something, you can go in there and hit preferences and be like, all right, well, this is my trauma res school, so I'm going to do literally just trauma. And I can just sit there and smash out 2 or 3 scenarios and go in feeling really confident the next day. So I believe in this, and I want it to be great, and that's why I'm selling it hard. So yeah, there will be some guides and references and things like that are sitting behind a paywall. But look, I think I've talked enough. I think I've talked everyone's ear off for about an hour now. So I will. I'll end this here. And look, I look forward to talking to everyone. Feel free to email me. There's actually an email address on the website, but I'll put one up there. It's just going to be feedback@medquiz.com.au, or ben@medquiz.com.au. Otherwise, you can comment on the video, comment on the Reddit post and things like that I've been doing to sprook this. And look forward to chatting to everyone. Good luck with everything.